YouTube is the hardest platform to grow on the planet, period, and most people don't have the skills, abilities to make it happen, and or they give up because they don't have the fortitude to carry on and keep going. They don't have the self-awareness to really be realistic with themselves on what they need to do. It's really, really hard, and people have expectations, and expectations crush people's results.
This is Brian G. Johnson. He has been leveraging the internet since 2002 to generate millions of dollars. From books to YouTube, he has always maintained a very clear message. Anyone, regardless of age, race, or experience, can leverage the power of the internet and YouTube to generate life-changing results, not just by sharing, but amplifying their message. In this episode, we are going to discuss how he started making money in the early days of the internet, why boredom is what takes him from project to project, how he dealt with going through the lowest place in his personal life while also experiencing the greatest accomplishment in his professional life, and what happened to him financially when he took an extended break from YouTube. Brian opens up sharing some of his darkest days and greatest accomplishments to help you amplify your message. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by GigaStar. Welcome to The Funded YouTuber, long-time friend and creator admirer in general to the podcast. I appreciate you.
It's good to be here, Desiree. Let's have some fun and talk about money and creativity and all the things.
Absolutely. So tell us, what do you create on YouTube?
I share how to grow an audience, and I strive to help people understand that it's really very simple, but we often let go of that simplicity for thinking there must be something missing. And if I can just figure out what the algorithm wants, I'll be able to win. When at the end of the day, it's really just learning how to become a good creator and what that entails.
What led you to this kind of content creation?
As I was thinking about I just want to talk about creating content. But when I started, it was like I was a professional chef. I have a degree from France. My class started 13, 5 graduated, because you got to be a little off to keep going in the culinary world. It's hard. It's very hard, and it doesn't pay anything. And for me, I always had an idea and a dream of working for myself and calling the shots. It just seemed more exciting and more rewarding. And that really led me to wanting to explore online marketing. And that's really how I got my beginnings before there was a YouTube. I'm old, so I mean, I've been at this let's make some money online with content for a very long time.
What was your first stuff that you created online that made you money?
Well, actually, I had 2 websites that were my starting point. One was chef recipes, something to that effect. I can't even remember the domain, but one of the things that I've noticed about myself is I was very realistic early with understanding that before any money came, I would have to have skills and abilities that allowed me to connect with human beings on the internet. And the way to do that, this is 2002. So 22 years ago, for the love of God, I am old. And, I built these websites around what I knew, because I knew that I had to simplify things, create content, and learn how to do that. So I started off with a chef website. And I remember my uncle saying, man, everywhere I go online, I see your content. Like, you did a podcast, you did an article, someone posted one of your articles that linked back to your website. And I started affiliating with Amazon.com, and I would make, $100, $200, $300 a month with pots and pans, basically anything that you can affiliate with on Amazon. And then after I started seeing that success, like I was driving thousands of views a day. I talk YouTube now. I was driving thousands of visitors a day. I then started branching off with different websites. I remember my ex-wife at the time, she was like, well, why do you need another website? You have one. I'm like, well, I need to really focus on people that are spending money. This is really about audience targeting. It's always the same. Like, again, when we were chatting and I was mentioning, people make it too complicated. And it's really, if you study basic marketing, you understand that you follow the audience, you build around the audience. So I affiliated with a company still online today, art.com, and I built content around posters and prints that was very keyword driven. And I really enjoyed that. I learned that it's not just Picasso's blue period, but he had a rose period. So I wrote about that. And all of a sudden I'm selling posters and prints. And I learned, okay, if I can get them to frame the poster, then I make, $50. If they just get the poster, then I make $5. So that was really it. And from there, I just started learning about expired domain names and how to get more traffic and how to use WordPress and how to build websites. And I'm making money from tons of different programs. And I'm ninja. I'm in the trenches. After about 6-7 years of that, I started teaching people because I kind of got bored. And it's what makes me powerful, and it's what makes me weak, all in the same time. Because, like many people, like I like to try different things, So
Sounds like a creative problem.
yeah, exactly.
Creativity can get boring when it's not creative anymore, and problem solving and new and exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Like after a period of time, you're like, I've done this. I want to do something different. So now I heard about having your own course, and I'm going to do that. And that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at today. And I think it's more fulfilling for me to help people and see their growth. And I've had one student that's been struggling for months and months, and finally she just had a breakthrough, and that's really super rewarding. So.
I love that your road to like YouTube success has come from cooking, like being a chef, and not like in the way that we would think, like for usually like, oh, you're a cooking creator. No, like you're cooking, which is creative, and you wanted to do something else, which led to something else, which led to something else. It's all been like natural transitions. I think that that's one of the things, in my opinion, that a lot of creators are in, especially in the YouTube space, are not really thinking about long term. It's like, how do I transition and grow beyond what I'm doing right now? I think that, when we're recording this, there's a lot of like people quitting on YouTube.
There is a lot of people quitting.
YouTube doesn't want you to change or grow. YouTube doesn't want you to be something different. They want you to put you in the box and kind of keep you there for a long time. And so it can feel creatively stifling. And so it's about pivoting and figuring out like what you could do next or how you can create differently.
Number one, I don't like the idea of consistency. I think it's stupid. Nobody can stick to it. I almost swore. Bull crap. I just don't believe it. I do think that like my mission is to leave behind a body of work that viewers value. And the way I can measure that is through my total views. I can say my content's good, but it's really based on comments I get, feedback I get. And I'll go really hard for a long time, and then I need a break. I need to try something else. Or life happens, like, life happened. I went through a traumatic period. I took a step back, but there's a lot of things about YouTube that are challenging, but at the end of the day, it's pretty amazing what you can do,
So usually I ask creators like what was their first taste of income, but obviously like yours, we already talked about like going way back, and you've just transitioned from one online platform for selling to another. So when did you decide to go all full in on being a YouTube creator?
Yeah, so actually I mentioned this book before. So Trust Funnel is my first book I've written too. And we kind of talked about my early days. And as I continued to grow and try different things, I had a lot of different coaching programs that I really loved. And at some point, I think after about my fourth coaching program, because I had a Halloween super affiliate talking about affiliate marketing and Halloween costumes. I had a Revenge of the Affiliates, which was like, it was dramatic and big because that's more fun, And that was about self-publishing, because at the time, affiliate marketing was getting more challenging. So I kind of had all these coaching programs because I liked that model. It was rewarding. It made me good money. And I got to the point where I was like, well, it's time to do something different again. And I started writing this book. And I spent about 9 months writing this book. And then I spent another like 8 months releasing it, because my publisher was like, oh, goodness, we could release, but the next time slot would be right before Christmas. And that's about 3-4 months away. And it's too competitive. So let's launch in January. And then when this finally came out, it did incredibly well. Like using my marketing skills, this book was shared thousands of times by people on Facebook, different people, and it created a ton of buzz. It was like number one in numerous categories, almost to the top of marketing. I think I was number 3 in marketing, which was pretty interesting. When I got done with that, I kind of like, well, shoot, what do I do now? Like, man, I've done all these different things. And, I kind of thought, well, I've always really focused on video, but I've never done it purposefully. I've never strived to like really leverage all that YouTube offers. And I think so many people, use YouTube when they're marketers in the idea of this is where I put my videos so I can add them to my website. It's like this, it's just technology to host videos, because back in the day it was really hard to host videos. And that's kind of what led me to start my channel. And when I started, first it was like, I'm doing this because I either do something hardcore and I'm like really committed, or I don't. So it's like, you were like, well, when you took that break, I'm like, sort of took a break. Are you kidding? Like nobody dropped off the face of the earth like I did. But I'm in or I'm out. And so I kind of threw down like 10,000 subscribers in a year, which I hit barely, but I hit that. And
What year was that?
so that was, I think it was 2017.
Now, I remember when you were on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and I found that you had, I feel like, a much more relatable journey because it was very hard fought. Talk with us about like what that journey and why you feel that it was so like hard fought to get to.
Because YouTube is the hardest platform to grow on the planet, period. And most people don't have the skills, abilities to make it happen. And or they give up because they don't have the fortitude to carry on and keep going. They don't have the self-awareness to really be realistic with themselves on what they need to do. You already know all the answers I'm about to go into.
Why do you think that they don't stick with it?
Because it's hard. I just explained it. I mean, it's really, really hard. And people have expectations, and expectations crush people's results, because you cannot for a moment believe that you have any chance or any kind of belonging to be able to just drive 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 views when you've never done it. It's ridiculous. And furthermore, most people's videos are trash. They're terrible. And they can't see it. And in YouTube, the algorithm. And to be fair, it's, again, I've mentioned a few times, it's really, really hard. There's just too many skills that are needed. And furthermore, most people don't even stop to really get clear on what the most important skills are, because they're trying to uncover this mystery of the freaking algorithm, and it drives me nuts. I wrote this meme. I showed my friend at dinner the other day. I'm like, check this out. Like, what if the success that you desired was not based on identifying the missing link, but rather deleting that which is holding you back? For many people, it's the mindset. People are entitled. Why? Your videos suck. Give me something better. There's 1,000 million videos on Minecraft. And like, until you are willing to figure it out and measure your own results and put on blinders and just let go of everything else, it probably won't happen, because you have to have that self-awareness and then a willingness to dive in and figure it out. Which the most important thing is delivery. That is the hardest thing as well. It's the most important and it's the hardest.
I really love like your breakdown of like the reason people are not finding success on YouTube is because they make videos that suck. I have heard you say this so many times. I've heard you say this on stages, and I couldn't agree with you more that a lot of times people's success is people aren't watching because it's not very good, right? And so being able to identify that and have that like honest conversation is really important with people when they're trying to do stuff. Where does money play a part in all of this? Because I've always had kind of like I have my own views on this, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are.
It's funny because when we talked before we started, I'm like, I hope we can talk about being a creator, because I have that luxury today. Mm-hmm. But it's like when I started, I have to remember I was making $35K a year, and this is a while ago, 20 years ago, but still that's nothing, Like, I remember the apartment I was living in had barely a window, shag carpet that was 2 inches tall. It was bad. And I wasn't making any money. And I saw the internet and I'm like, this is going to be a big deal for some people that figure it out. And, I'm lucky because I'm curious, and it's just, I'll just, play around, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, I made some money, which is pretty amazing. So like, I started because I wanted to have that full-time freedom. to live how I want. Now, I'm not really money driven unless I feel like I'm putting a lot out there. Everybody has, I like to think of it as a thermostat, where if they don't make a certain amount of money, they're not comfortable. It seems off. I think it's important to be realistic with where that measurement is for everybody based on what they've done in the past, how they've served people and whatnot. Again, just valuing what others think, but also understanding and valuing, what you offer. So money is important, but I'm just as concerned with having fun and tinkering with what I want to tinker with. And if I make less, but I get to do it on my terms, there you go. That's how I want. And I got lucky. I made some good money over the years, and I've got a little nest egg tucked away, and thank God for that.
Estimating yourself, I think you're not lucky. I think that you're smart and you pay attention to what's going on, which is what's cool about being in the creator. Like the more you're in the creator space, the more you realize like where your area of expertise is and like what you can do to be successful in the space, and like paying attention to what's happening around you, looking like ahead and seeing like where you can offer and do more things. And I think that curiosity that creatives allows for us to really see that and build that out and figure out like what's going on next. Now, you alluded to something about how you had some struggles in your life, and your creator business that you put in place allowed for essentially for you to do that. I'd love to talk about this because, again, we talked a little bit. I mentioned earlier, like we're in like the quit era with YouTube, but there's also something different where it's like your life happens. And when you're a full-time creator, if you have this set up right, like it kind of allows for you to have that need that you might have to collapse or have life happen. So can you talk with us about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of levels to it. The first thing is you can absolutely take a step back, and if you have things in place, the money will be there. You can save money. You can build a nest egg. And we also talked a little bit about like consistency. I don't know, like consistency to me is like, oh, let's make sure we publish every Thursday. Like, I don't care. Like, I want to publish when the video is as good as it needs to be within a reasonable amount of time. And then I publish it, and I can tell you many times I've taken longer. Today I filmed 2 videos twice that I filmed 2 days ago because I was playing with green screen, and it's good and it could be okay, but it's not good enough for me. So like that's how I roll. Like I'm willing to do things over all the time. And as far as the money goes, like ask me a specific question, I guess.
So money for me, money gives me freedom. And but freedom for me isn't always like being able to do what I want when I want. For me, being able to, my life requires freedom because my husband has PTSD, my son has autism, I have a daughter with ADHD. There's just a lot of things happening in my house that pull me as the mom and the wife away from getting to create sometimes. Like while we're recording this, my son is having a total meltdown upstairs and I can hear it happening. And I'm like, okay, I gotta keep going and focus and put that aside, and I'll deal with it when it's done because they're home from school because it's a snow day. Like that is what a creator business allows me to do, because unlike a job or unlike other things that might be online, it's not just one thing that allows me to make income. I'm not like, if I don't produce a video, I don't get my AdSense, I don't get a paycheck. Like it doesn't work that way. There are other things that I have in place that being a creator exclusively allows for me to do. When you've gone through your hardships, like, when you lost your relationship in last year and you've been pivoting and doing all these adjustments, and you did kind of fall off for a little while.
A long time, a little while. It was, I mean, I look at it as 4 years. I'd love to get your feedback. How do you view it? Do you like you were sort of around, but not really, or it was 4 years, or it was like a year, or?
Well, and I've seen, because the thing is for me is like we're friends, right? So I've seen your other stuff. Like I've watched you like creating your photography content, talking about things, giving like really valuable insights and reminders around stuff. Your content has gone in and out of my home feed for different reasons based on what my browser activity is on YouTube. But I did know, and then you shared the story about how you and your wife had separated and how you've been building back and how it was really devastating for you. I would think normal people, and I say normal in the sense of like people that are W-2 employees and all that kind of stuff, I would feel that they don't have that luxury. Like they have to go to the job or they don't have money. And so they have to work through misery, struggle, emotional damage, all of that.
Yeah, 100%.
How did the creator business that you've built allow for that, for you to have that collapse? It was obviously unexpected.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I've been at this marketing thing for many years, and when it's a bummer because my high point was all literally my low point in my personal life. So the high point of YouTube, I was doing 7,500 subscribers a month, driving 400,000 views a month, which in our niche is that's some serious views. And I was really coming into my own, and I was finding a new level of content that is very fulfilling, and the money was all there as a result of that. And I think that's a really important distinction. And then, within the month or two is the same timeline, my ex-wife walked out, and that was challenging. But because I was at such a high point, I had a bunch of videos that continued to drive views day after day, week after week, even for years. Okay, so that there's no other platform that comes close to YouTube. It just is how it is. So that was very amazing. Then on top of it, there are a lot of monetization strategies. And I don't even think of it as like I'm going to try to align myself with the residual programs based on reoccurring income. It just happens to be what happened. But like tools like TubeBuddy or other software tools, and I partnered with Nico at Morning Fame and gave him tons of ideas on how to build out the keyword research tool because I had all that experience, So it's like all of those things allowed for money to continue to flow in, and I did have a nest egg. Now it's important to really again value where you're at and be self-aware. I'm looking at my tab in Notion. Notion is like a new type of Word document processor that you can use. Have that self-awareness of, I'm not Nick Nimmin. I'm not one of the top 3 players in my space, but you know what? I'm on stage. I don't even know how it happens. I'm still the guy they reach out to. I'm usually not the keynote, although I have keynoted. And I think that just all of those things together, when you publish great videos, when the focus is great videos, because the only way you get to the money is by delivering value. Like it's all been said, it's all been done. Everybody talks the same shtick, I would imagine. And yet, at some point, like, well, maybe if there's this, what's the hack? Like I responded to someone this morning. They're like, what's the hack? I'm like, well, and I really gave a lot of information on how to move forward, and I really talked kind of what I'm sharing with you and your listeners, that it's not complicated. It's very simple, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy, but it is simple. So
Yeah, it's sort of like the answer is simple, but the work is hard.
very, very hard. And it's hard on many levels. Physically, it's hard, but more emotionally and mentally. And it takes a certain kind of fortitude and stubbornness.
100% agree with the stubbornness part. Sometimes you just have to. I know for me with my YouTube channel, it's been a struggle. Like 2023 was a hard year for me because I kept like working with coaches and trying to figure out like what was going on, why were these dips and things happening and all this stuff. And I just had to ultimately be like, I just need to go back to what I know works, what was working, what I was doing, and stop trying to be this thing with this kind of channel when it's like this channel is good for this thing. And if I want to do this other stuff, I got to go create a new channel for that purpose because I need to do what I do best. And that's what is allowing me to have success in the past and sell and grow and all that kind of stuff. And because I try to get away from that because I believed that there was only one way to be successful on YouTube versus like the reality is there's a lot of ways to be successful on YouTube. I hurt my channel. I really, really did. Now I have to rebuild it back and put it into the place that I want to with. Hopefully it'll be nice because it'll be really good quality content that is solving the problems that I know my audience is coming to me for and has come to me for. And it's just one of those things you have to kind of dedicate yourself to doing.
I think the more we can live in the now, the easier it is to move forward because a lot of people are not living in the moment. And this kind of goes back to, why people struggle because they have expectations and they have an idea, this entitlement of what they should do, and they don't get what they expect. And it's just a lot of ways to look at things that set you up for disappointment, So like I have a lot of people that are in my coaching program or new people coming in, and they get hung up on, well, I don't understand, like, 2 years ago, I'm like, nuh-uh. No, it's like I could do that too. I could say, well, I don't understand why I can't drive 4,000 views to every video in 24 hours. But it's like, well, that was years ago. And I need to focus on exactly where I am right now today and learn how to improve. And the more I'm in the past or in the future, probably the more I'm going to struggle because I'm not in the now.
To kind of pivot a little bit into some money stuff, I really love to know if you could share with us maybe some horrible money experiences that you had. This might be like a bad sponsor, a gig that didn't work out the way that you wanted to, something that was really just hard that we could learn from.
Jesus, that's really hard for me because I'm almost I'm too optimistic. I'm too positive, almost to a degree, I would say, but I much rather be that way. I think there has been times where I felt like I could have been compensated in ways in which I wasn't, or people that I partnered with didn't use me to my full abilities, and that made me sad based on how they were spending their money. So I didn't feel a part of in a way that I could have helped, a certain entity move forward. I'm like, why are you spending money with that? That's ridiculous. Sponsoring an event, no one's going to remember that. We could have done this thing over here, but again, I hate that, and that's none of my business because I really strive to focus on my journey. And, I can only do what I can do. And, I'm a human and I make mistakes myself and I let people down and people let me down. And it's just, I think we need to try to understand what we want to accomplish and try to figure out the best way to move forward to make that happen. And the more that we do that, the better. And it's funny because it's like, again, I think a lot of people get lost they don't focus on what matters and then they struggle. Like, stop bitching about the algorithm. Just please. If you tell me you're serious and I go to your channel and you've published 3 videos, please. If you tell me you really want it and you're uploading every 4 months, then I can't, get on board with that because I don't see it. So I think it's like the moment we like take responsibility and do the best we can to move forward this is my experience. It's so funny. Like, I hate unsolicited advice, even though people pay me as a coach and whatnot.
So to tap into your positivity, what might have been one of your most successful financial moments as a YouTuber?
As a YouTuber, well, I have two. As a YouTuber, it would be working with a brand and telling them that they should have me on board and I should, work with you. And that was working with Nico. And that was an incredible opportunity. And I really enjoyed, what we did together. And I love that, like, that keyword research tool is very powerful and it's interesting and it's based on my ideas. It's based on my ideas that other tools have now implemented into their system. And again, that kind of came from my head. And what's interesting is that was like, hey, I'd love to pay you hundreds of dollars to do a brand deal when I was very small. And then I had the audacity to send them an email and say, I think we should work together in a deeper, meaningful way. So, you can only get a yes if you ask.
100%. I have moments like those too. And I think that they're really important to remember that, especially if you love a tool and you want it to be better and like you're passionate about what its potential be, like reach out, connect, contribute, because then it can continue to benefit you more and it can really help others. And like that, a little bit of that like servant's heart sort of thing. So we always like to go over the different income streams that everybody has on this podcast. So let's talk about first. So first thing, of course, like you have AdSense and you also do sponsorships. What are some of your sponsors?
I'm working right now with Opus Clip. Absolutely love them. Incredible tool. I'll probably live stream in the next day or so. And I'll take that live stream and I'll run it through Opus and it'll generate shorts for me. It'll do the editing. It will add B-roll. It will add captions, and it's literally push buttons. So you still spend time. It's not like it does everything, but I can spend a couple hours and get 10 to 20 quality shorts based off of a live stream or long form content. And that's something that, again, this was a tool I was using and enjoyed. And I am lucky enough to work with them in a brand relationship. Another one would be, I've worked with TubeBuddy a number of times. They've been fantastic. I still talk with the owner today, and he's working on some interesting things in AI. That's really exciting. There's probably a few other small brand deals partners, but I can't really think of them off the. Did I mention Nico? So that
Yeah,
was kind of.
with morning fame, right?
Yeah. That was it was pretty much a brand deal, but it was a very very high level brand deal, and the deal was good. You know, it was fair for all of us.
Now, when I mentioned that affiliates as an income stream, you said, "Oh yeah." So talk to us about how you use affiliates as part of your income stream.
You know, real quick, I'm going to share this because I think people want to know what's possible. And my favorite story when it comes to making money is not just YouTube, but it's all the same thing. It really is. It's identifying this is what my audience needs. These are the tools they would buy. These are the things I can do. And in 2010, I actually put out a program about creating websites in an automated fashion. And I did some back end deals where I incorporated promotions as an affiliate. Well, one was an affiliate, and then one was more white label. And the white label was I became a domain reseller through GoDaddy. Did you know you can do that? You can actually partner with GoDaddy. You can have your own company. And they paid me, I think, $1,600 the last day or two. Now that was a revenue stream I set up in 2010, and every month I get, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and I spent 15 hours on that. So, holy buckets, that is crazy for the amount of time I put in. Now, quickly, and then we can talk about the other stuff. But I had to share that story. I have done so many things that haven't made me anything. And it's really important to balance that out. Again, this is what people talk about in many different ways, but like it's kind of that fail forward, keep trying, do different things. And over time, you'll have an easier time making educated decisions. As far as like today, like I do great with TubeBuddy. I do great with Morning Fame. I promote my own products and services. That has always done really well for me. And I love that too. There's something really cool about building out a product. And I don't know how to do small things. I kind of go all in and go hardcore, or I don't do it. So it's usually a coaching program, and it's not an ebook. Like you get access to me, you can talk to me. It's not $100, but it's not thousands of dollars. It's somewhere in the middle. And those have been really lucrative and, again, fulfilling and rewarding. I think that's a really important aspect of what we do too, is feeling fulfilled.
One of the things I know that you have done and you have built that has been very fulfilling for you is that you have been an author, and you talked about your Trust Funnels book that you did, but you also have done the book Tube Ritual, which I love. Like that's one of the things when I was in the early days of knowing you, I bought that book and I got a lot of value out of it. But what's really cool about the fact that that I love about your physical book is that you've also translated that over into a digital community on a Facebook group. So
Mm-hmm.
how does all of that work?
I'm really glad you asked, because this is such a cool model and you can do it at different levels. Like ultimately, all you're doing is you're writing a report. Like this right here, this is a high level report, right? It's based on how to, it's information, it's stories, it's marketing, and anybody can do this. Even if it seems hard, it's hard, but anybody can write a book. But inside the book, if you really offer value and people say, this is pretty interesting, they're going to be willing to buy with you through an affiliate link, again, if you really demonstrate value. So one of the things I've done again, it can be a book, and it's funny, check this out. This was the proof. Oh, actually, I do have Tube Ritual, but look, this is the proof of Tube Ritual. And whoever, I paid someone and they misspelled my name. So funny. But what you can do is you can write out your report and you can be like, these are the steps to generate money, get this result. Here's what you want. I'm going to show you how to do it. These are all the things you're going to need. You're going to need domain names. You're going to need this software. This is how to do it for free. This is a better solution. And then I've gone ahead and I've given those things away for free. And I always try to make it way better than people expect, because then you have this, wow, that was pretty good. And the moment someone has that kind of epiphany is when you built your own trust funnel, and then you can make great money. So like I remember I did a report about buying expired domain names, leveraging them to rank on Google, drive views. And again, you could do this with YouTube It's the same kind of concept. And you can have affiliate offers within the PDF. So it's very powerful. Plus, you're building your list and,
Leading with value, I think, is one of those most underrated things people can do. Like, I get really salty when I see like ads and people that are like, stop giving your stuff away for free and all that kind of stuff. And I can't help but think, like, there's no way anyone knows anything about me or trusts me and my information unless I talk with them about what I know and I help them. Like, leading with help, again, that servant's heart idea allows for you to get back in return other opportunities and other things that are going to be able to help you professionally and also monetarily as well.
I think any time that you can really demonstrate that is when it becomes a lot easier,
Some of the other things that you have ways that you make money is with digital products. You do coaching. You also utilize Amazon as well. But I also love when we were talking through like your income streams, one of our like categories that I ask about is in royalties and syndication.
Oh
You
yeah.
had a cool, like, unusual royalty situation with again with your book.
Yeah. So that's this book. And when I decided to write this book, like I decided, okay, I've got 10 or 15 years in this marketing industry. I'm going to write a book. I haven't done that. I like to do new things. I started writing this book and I decided to partner with a company called Morgan James and a publisher. And one of the things they talked about was they can translate the book into Japanese and it would be additional royalties if that's something I wanted to do. And I thought, well, of course, why not? And it's so cool. Like I think I have 10 or so copies around my home and I can't read the thing. I mean, I can read this one, but not the Japanese one. And yeah, I've still made royalties from that to this day as well. So the residual and the royalties are interesting. It really is possible to make significant money over a period of years. But I think anything past 10 years is kind of like, the reality is you probably won't see that. But now and then, if you really strive and you're really gung-ho and you're smart and you try to be the best version of yourself possible, then, who knows, anything's possible.
I think also too, like, there's a little bit of like you did something unusual for creators who are so modern in YouTube and video and stuff. You created something that's a traditional medium that a lot of people don't think that they can do or that they do, and it's a whole different way of doing something. And so I think with creating something that's a more traditional medium comes with traditional payment options.
Yeah, sure. And I think, again, it's just, I like to create things. And I think it's a great way to share your own story. And again, for me, it's really about creating. Like I have this deep need to create. And, when I took my long break, it was weird because I lost that and I didn't feel myself. And I'm kind of going through this period where I was like, I'm a little bit concerned about money, but I have plenty in the bank, but I don't want to be, 78 and worry or have to like mortgage my home or reverse mortgage or downscale. I want to live a nice life. And and all the stuff that we're talking about, makes that possible. So
you've also done something really cool that we haven't got to talk about on this podcast before, where you have done live events, bringing
Sure.
people together in real life. How were you able to build that, grow that, get people to come and make a way to connect?
I wouldn't even say that's something that I've tried to grow. It's just now and then there are opportunities that you can take advantage if you want to. And I think this is something that after you've done a few ebooks and you've done some courses, and by now you're probably speaking and you have a little notoriety, and you're going to show up and you're going to be in the city, and some of your best pals are going to be there, and you have an opportunity to work with them or work alone, and you basically can say, hey, I'm going to be at this event at this location. One of them was in Atlanta, and I'm going to do a workshop for a day, and we're going to talk about like being a memorable messenger, how to craft a message that resonates with an audience, and then how to, leverage things like books and Medium and speaking gigs and video and YouTube and your website, and really how to cut across and create something that's different and memorable. And I did that, and it was more like I did it because I wanted to do it. Again, it was like another way to create. But at the same time, I think I probably made a couple $1,000 in a day. And it didn't take a ton of, it took a fair amount of planning, and it was probably about right how much I made. Like the ways that I made the most money, like that deal with GoDaddy was incredible. What I've made with TubeBuddy has been fantastic. My own coaching program, that makes tons of money. But these are additional ways that you can leverage going to an event, and all of a sudden you can make an extra $500,000, $2,000, $5,000, depending on what you offer and how in depth it is.
One of the fun things that I've always admired about you when we talk about creativity and stuff is that you do a lot with photography. You live in Colorado where there's lots of like wildlife and beautiful scenes and things like that. And you've been able to make a little bit of money through selling your stock photos. Not a ton, but it's still one of those things. I'd love if you could share that with us, because I think that might be an untapped opportunity for us as creators, because we have all the gear and equipment, but we're not really seeing how that like stock market could really work for us.
There is actually a really big opportunity, and I'll add a caveat, and that is, I think anytime you want to make serious money, you have to have a certain amount of focus, and that's always challenging too, to balance all the things we want to do and what we're capable of doing at a high level. So for me, I dabbled with that in a little bit, and I did put up, I never did the photos. So you mentioned photos. I did videos, and I did B-roll, and I actually, I don't know. I did photos too and video, and I've probably made dollars, not very little. But again, I really didn't, go after it in a big way, because I'll be honest, I don't think in the capacity that I would have been required to make a lot of money, I did not want to do, which is, I'll tell you what to do. During COVID, the kind of content you shot was people wearing masks. I don't care about that. I'm interested in going out and striving to take a really incredible photo of a moose or a baby moose, or macro photography, or an osprey with a fish in his talons. And that's really hard. It's still possible. And I think anybody that's passionate about photography or video content creation, it's something we can look into. But again, I think it really depends on one's desire to really make something work at a high level.
Yeah, no, I think that it's untapped, and it's kind of one of those things that people could really consider. I always like to wrap up our interviews by asking, like, what is your next money move?
What is my next money move? Right now, I am really focused on publishing content that I'm proud of, that inspires me, that interests me, knowing that the only way to get the money that you want is to create something that other people see value in. So I know if I follow my passion and I try to do the best job I can in creating something that has an audience, that's really important. A lot of people that want the money, they get all like, well, I like to do this. I'm like, I know, but you want that, and then you want this. So for me right now, that's what I'm focused on. But at the same time, in the back of my mind is a really good chance that I may refresh a group coaching program kind of thing, and take people through this step-by-step process that I've been leveraging for years now on how to grow on YouTube.
Well, of course, everyone that is listening, if you want any of the information that Brian shared, access to his book, his groups, all that stuff, we're going to have that in our show notes over at thefundedyoutuber.com. Brian, it is always so enlightening and inspirational to talk with you. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you. Until next time, see you next week. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by GigaStar, a parent company of GigaStar Market, an SEC-registered funding portal and member of FINRA. Learn more at gigastar.io. Music provided by APM Music, unrivaled music to bring your stories to life. Neither GigaStar nor its affiliated companies provide legal, regulatory, financial, or tax advice. Any opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and are the informational purposes only. The information and opinions expressed herein are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investments, objectives, financial situation, or needs of any specific investors.